What is going on, YouTube? Welcome back to the JDW Sports Talk Show, where every fan's welcome. I appreciate you guys tuning in to another episode of Hot Take Tuesday. This time is episode 24, season 2 of Hot Take Tuesday. We're here, officially ready to rock and roll. We have a couple of hot takes from our Discord server. We have 3 this week, and I also throw one in there myself since there wasn't that many. So I'm excited to get going. I'm excited to get talking about them. And if you would like to be featured in future Hot Take Tuesday episodes, make sure you join that Discord server. It's a great place to be, a great community. Not only do you get a chance to get involved in Hot Take Tuesday, you get a chance to really build some great relationships and gain some really great friendships. There are a lot of phenomenal people in there right now, and you won't be disappointed if you join. It's a great community. Join the Empire. It's a great place to be. So I'd like to get started now. The first hot take we have here today is from Silver Sabs. Lions blow out the Raiders with 3 total rushing touchdowns from Gibbs and Montgomery. Gibbs having 2 rushing touchdowns and Montgomery having 1. So the Lions better bounce back here. They have to. They really disappointed us last week. They played a good football team, the Ravens. The Ravens have been inconsistent. The Ravens are one of those football teams that could beat anyone, but they will lose to anyone, as they lost to the Colts, they lost to the Steelers, and they just beat the Lions. So the Ravens are very inconsistent, very weird team, and I feel like the Lions should have won that game. I think the Lions are the better football team, but it did not show on Sunday. So I think they're going to be hungry. The Lions are going to be hungry. They're going to be out looking for something to eat, and the Raiders are the perfect snack to get back on track because the Raiders are not a good football team. They just got blown out by the Chicago Bears. If that should tell you all that you need to know. The Chicago Bears are not a good football team this year. They have been impressing me lately. I think they've been doing some things really well lately that they haven't been doing in the beginning of the season. So it's nice to see a young team, Tyson Bagent, really stepping in there and making some big plays. But all in all, the Bears still aren't a good team. The Raiders pretty much got mollywopped. They pretty much got their plate cleaned by the Raiders or by the Bears. And the Bears don't really have they have one of the worst defenses in the league, and then you score 12 points. A previous week you scored 21. The Raiders have only scored over 20 points once this season, and then they only recently just scored 12 against the Chicago Bears. That's not good. And now you're going up against the Detroit Lions team that is really going to get after their quarterback. They're really going to get after Tyson Bagent. And Tyson Bagent, they're not playing the Bears. They're playing the Raiders. But whoever the quarterback is back there, they're going to have a long day. I'm not sure if Jimmy G's going to play. The Raiders are going to be much better with Jimmy G in there. It's not saying much because the offensive line isn't great. They do have some decent players in there that are kind of making a nice impact right away, but the defense is one of the worst in the league, as they just allowed the Bears and Tyson Bagent to put up 30 points on them. But the Lions blowing out the Raiders with 3 total rushing touchdowns, I think that is very possible. The Lions getting 3 rushing touchdowns against the Raiders is very possible. Would not shock me whatsoever. The Raiders do have a very bad defense, as I mentioned earlier, so it would not shock me if the Lions put up 30-plus points on the Raiders. If the Bears can put up 30 points, then the Lions should be able to put up 30-plus points as well. So 3 rushing touchdowns. I'm going to treat this as a couple different hot takes. I will rate it as a whole at the end, but you guys know who have been here, when you give specific touchdowns and specific stats to players, I will always go hot with that part of the hot take. But Lions blowing out the Raiders with 3 total rushing touchdowns, I'm going to go warm. The Lions are mad. They're one of the better teams in the NFL. They have been, up until last week. They're going to come out strong. They're going to come out hot, and they're really going to take their frustrations out on the Raiders. I feel sorry for you Raiders, for the Raiders players, the fans. You guys are going to have a rough week, and Josh McDaniels may very well be on his way out after this week. Is that a hot take? Is that a bold prediction in within itself? But the Lions won the Raiders warm. Three total rushing touchdowns. Honestly, I'm going to go cold. I think it's very likely the Lions have 3 rushing touchdowns because the Raiders are not very good against the run. They do have Max Crosby, and they do have Tyree Wilson, who actually had his best game last week, but he's still a project, still has a long way to go. He played a very bad offensive line last week. Now you're going from playing a very bad offensive line to one of the better offensive lines in the league. It's an elite, if not one of the best offensive lines in the league. So that's a tough matchup for Tyree Wilson. See if he could continue his successes from last week. Very high overall pick. Has been very disappointing. Had very little snaps, but we'll see if he can build on what he did versus a very poor offensive line last week versus the Chicago Bears. But saying that Gibbs is going to have 2, Montgomery's going to have 1. If you maybe just said, total touchdowns, I would probably go warm here. I think it's likely that Gibbs would have 1 receiving and 1 rushing. Montgomery had 1 rushing, but considering you're saying rushing, 2 for Gibbs, 1 for Montgomery, I mean, I'm going to go warm. I wouldn't normally go hot, but the Raiders defense is so bad, and the Lions do want and like to run the football. Montgomery has been the main guy. So with Montgomery having another week back, maybe they're going to play him more because he's healthy. Better. All right, but for the entire hot take, blowing out the Raiders, I'm gonna go warm. I would go cold if you weren't so specific with how those touchdowns were scored with Gibbs and Montgomery. I can see 2 touchdowns for Gibbs, 1 for Montgomery. Depends on the usage. That's tough as well. But I am gonna go warm for that entire hot take, which is very, very unlike me to go warm when you get very specific with stats. But the Raiders aren't a good football team. They don't have a good defense. The Lions are hungry. They're gonna be mad. They're coming off a big loss versus the Ravens. They want to get back out there as soon as they can to really try and regain their mojo as fast as they can. So the next hot take we have here is from Tones. The Carolina Panthers go on a 4-game winning streak. I think this is a really hot take. I will give you my final take kind of assessment at the end. But Panthers going on a 4-game win streak is very unlikely, in my opinion. The offense line isn't good. Frank Reich isn't very good. I could see them maybe winning 2 out of the next 4. I don't see them winning 4 out of the next 4. Very unlikely. Within the next 4 games, in this order, they're playing the Texans, the Colts, the Bears, and then the Cowboys. The Cowboys, probably a loss. Although we've seen crazier things happen. We just saw the Patriots beat the Bills. We just saw the Browns and Colts put up 77 points. Before the game, I would say I would be, if you told me that the Colts and the Browns would put up 45 points, together, I'd tell you, yeah, probably not. But they put up 77, and then you had the Vikings beat the 49ers, so you never really know. But the Panthers winning 4 games in a row is very unlikely. They don't have a good football team. They're 0-6 for a reason. Frank Reich is not a great coach. He's not a very good coach. I think he's a very good coordinator, not a good head coach. He just can't handle all the responsibilities. He doesn't have a good track record with his quarterbacks now, and it's just not a very good look. And the Panthers beating the Texans, I'm going to say that's a loss. I would say the games between the Colts and the Bears are 50-50s. You probably are, both of those games are 50-50, but you probably drop one of them. It seems like the Bears are playing pretty well. The Colts are playing pretty well, but I would even give the Colts and the Bears the edge over the Panthers right now. Texans, they'll probably lose to the Texans. I'm really high on the Texans, but hey, number 1 pick versus number 2. Frank Reich knows the Texans pretty well, but it's a whole new system. Ultimately, I don't think the Texans will lose to the Carolina Panthers, but the Panthers going 4-0 the next 4 games, I think is piping hot. I think it's a little unrealistic. I think it's very unrealistic. If they weren't playing the Cowboys in there, I'd probably go hot just because the NFL is crazy. You never know what could happen. But considering they're playing the Cowboys, one of the better teams in the league, even though the Cowboys aren't great, as great as they were in the beginning of the season, or as I thought they would have maybe been all season long. I've really been wrong about that. The Cowboys I think we could all agree that the Cowboys are a pretty good football team, but they're not a great football team. I think that's a pretty fair assessment. But the Panthers going on a win streak over the next 4 games. I don't see it happening. It's very tough. You're playing Steelers Stroud, who's playing phenomenal. He's got weapons. The offense lines are right. The defense will make plays for the Texans. You got the Colts. It depends on what kind of Colts teams you catch. If you catch a Colts team putting up 38 points, I don't know if the Panthers can put up 38 points on anyone. But if they could, maybe it's against a very inexperienced Colts secondary. The Bears probably don't beat the Bears. Cowboys, I don't know. This is a very young team that's not looking good, and they couldn't win 6 games within the first 4 weeks. Let's see who they played within the first 4 weeks real quick. That will give us an idea of who they played and who they couldn't beat. So let's go Carolina Panthers. And it should just give us all we need to know if we just look that right up. Oh, no, the page is not working. Oh, well, 1 sec. Okay, so the Carolina Panthers played the Falcons. I'm not too high on the Falcons. I don't think that, I think the Falcons are maybe a below average team. They're nothing special. The Saints, they're a middle of the pack team. The Seahawks, that's a decent football team. The Vikings are getting hot now. They weren't playing great at that time. You got beat up really good by the Lions, and then you got beat up really good by the Dolphins. So yeah, I guess they did play some pretty good teams and they did put up points against some bad defenses. So maybe we'll see. What kind of Texans defense we get versus the Panthers. What kind of Colts defense do we get? The Bears defense. Maybe the Panthers could win 3 in a row. I think that's in the realm of possibilities. I don't think it happens, but hey, maybe the chance is there. Maybe the chance is there. But I'm gonna go piping hot just because you said 4. You got the Cowboys in there. If it was 3, maybe I'd be going hot. Maybe I'd be going warm. But piping hot, I'm sticking with piping hot, especially with the Cowboys in that stretch. That's a good football team. But I will say Panthers going on 4-game winning streak. Piping hot, it's tough. It would be really nice to see a young team, Bryce Young, getting some success, but it's not going to happen. I don't see it. All right, next up, third hot take of the evening is from Joshua Kissinger. He says, the Kansas City Chiefs miss the playoffs if they cannot get it together consistently. So the Chiefs have not been that bad of a football team. A lot of people aren't really looking at the Chiefs as a dominant football team, and I think that's wrong. The Chiefs are a very good football team. They're the best in the league right now. They're playing great defense, if not elite defense. They finally got the offense going against a bad defense like they should last week versus the Chargers. I was really impressed with the offense last week. It seems like Rashee Rice is stepping up, which ultimately helps Travis Kelce in the run game a little bit. And I think a lot of people don't understand that the Chiefs are still a good football team just because they aren't playing the brand of football that we know the Chiefs for. It doesn't mean that the Chiefs are a horrible football team or they're just not as good as they usually are. No, maybe their offense isn't as good, but their defense is like night and day better than it has been. So I think it really evens it out. The defense has been great, and Patrick Mahomes can make those few extra plays if he really needs to when the offense isn't looking good, whether he's running it or he's throwing to someone or he's he's throwing it to Kelce or even one of these receivers. The Chiefs are the best team in the NFL right now, and it was the Lions last week for me. It was take that for what you will, but it was short-lived for the Lions. I gave them the shot, couldn't keep it going, but the Chiefs are the best team in the NFL right now. And some people will argue the Eagles, fine, but the Eagles have been very inconsistent on both sides of the ball. Chiefs have been very consistent on the defensive side of the ball all year long, and they're a big play waiting to happen every single game. The Niners, I would say the Niners until these last 2 weeks. The Chiefs are the best team in the NFL right now, and it's not even close. Well, you could say it's close, but I honestly don't think it is. I think the Chiefs, they're playing absolutely phenomenal football. Seems like the passing game is just getting going now. Rashee Rice looked really good, and you have other guys that are still young, still getting it figured out. If you get another one of those guys to figure it out, and it could be a really potent offense once again. If it's not already, it already is. So I understand where the worry and the concern is coming from, but considering how weird, and how different the NFL this year is, like in consideration of there's not that one team that's really that dominant. I'd say outside of the Chiefs, I think the Chiefs are that dominant football team. They could run the football. They have one of the best offense lines in the NFL. I love Isaiah Pacheco, one of the best, the best quarterback in the NFL, with one of the best, if not the best, tight ends in the NFL. And the defense is one of the best. It's been elite. It's been that good. So I think people don't think the Chiefs are as good just because they're not playing the same brand and style of football that they do every year. It's a little different, but they're still winning football games convincingly. They haven't lost since week 1. And have they really been close to losing since week 1? Let's take a peek at who they played and how close they've come into loss since week 1. The Jaguars. They beat them by a touchdown. That was a tough game. They blew out the Bears. They struggled versus the Jets, but they beat the Jets. And the Jets are no joke. That Jets defense is one of the best in the NFL. The Jets defense and that Jets team beat the Bills. They beat the Eagles. They didn't, the Chiefs didn't let them do it. The Chiefs did just enough. They finished the game off when they needed to. And arguably, that was the best game that Zach Wilson played all year. It's not saying much, but Zach Wilson looked good in that game. At the Vikings, they beat the Vikings by 7. They beat the Broncos by 2 scores. And that's a divisional matchup. Mile high. And then they beat the Chargers. Another football team that has been resurging, that has been looking pretty good. So I think a lot of people are just, I think you just need to look at, who they've played, what they've done so far. They've been a very dominant football team. Very dominant football team. Let's see. How many games? Let's take a peek again. Have they allowed 30 points once? No. Have they played any great offenses? Maybe, the Lions? The Lions have a really good offense? I'd say so. Jared Goff, Amon-Ra. It was the first week, so no tape was out on them yet. Jaguars offense, inconsistent, but, at times it's looked amazing, and they only scored 9 points against the Chiefs. Bears only scored 10. Take that for what you would. The Bears aren't very good. The Jets scored 20. Vikings scored 20. No one has scored over 21 points on this Chiefs defense. No one. And they played some decent offenses. They played the Vikings with Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, Kirk Cousins. So I don't want to hear that they have not played anyone. Have they played that dominant team? I mean, you could argue the Lions if you want. That was a close game. It depends on how you look at the Lions right now. But I still look at the Lions as a top 10 football team, as a very good football team, and that's a quality win. So I don't get where all the chatter is coming from that the Chiefs aren't the same. They're not the same in terms of the way that they have played. That people are, that people have, that they are known for. The Chiefs are still dominant. They're still the best team in the NFL. And I think they are, honestly, by far the best team and by far the most dominant in the NFL right now. Hands down. Hands down. That's for me. Okay, so the next hot take is from Head of the Table 23. So I actually had to put it in the middle of the video because I completely forgot to record it in the normal one. I don't know why, it just wasn't there. But we're here. I have to throw it in quick because he did put it in before 5, and he's been here for a while. Great human being. Really, everyone in the Discord. So I really want to make sure I get everyone in there that did drop a hot take. So I apologize. It's not an actual video. Well, it is now because I'm going to put it in there in Premiere Pro. So because of that, this video might be a little late, but hey, as long as it's out, I think that's all that matters. But Head of the Table 23. Deshaun Watson will not be the starting QB for the Browns next season. Man, I mean, all that guaranteed money. I don't really think the Browns move on from him yet next season. I think they're going to go with him another. They're going to play out the contract as much as they could, and I think he will play majority of next year. Now, if he does not look better by next year and, say it's 3-4 games in and they have a guy sitting behind him, maybe they draft him in the 3rd or 4th round, or maybe DTR is still there. Maybe the Browns will be ready to say, hey, we paid him all this money. We're paying him all this money so far, and it's not really doing us anything good. So maybe then the Browns be like, hey, we have to sit Deshaun Watson. We have to play a quarterback that's going to actually give us the best chance to win. But I don't think Deshaun Watson is, I think he's going to continue to get better. I know I've been saying this, and he has not really gotten better. He's been injury prone, and, that's another issue. He's got to get better with the injuries, and, he was coming back from an injury last game, so he didn't look great. In general, as we have seen, when players take off a year or two and, they can't really get back to football, it's, right away, it makes a big impact on how they play the game and, and them trying to be what they were prior to that. Le'Veon Bell is an example. Now he's not a quarterback, but he's an example. So many guys, that maybe take off a year, they try to come back, and they can never return to their previous form. But I think Deshaun Watson will eventually get there. He better get there sooner rather than later because the Browns paid a lot of money. And all of it is guaranteed, so he better get it figured out. Otherwise, the Browns will look really won't look too good if they cannot get this figured out. If Deshaun Watson doesn't end up panning out, he better. I hope he does for the Browns because I know it's going to be a big thing. But Deshaun Watson not being the starting quarterback for the Browns next season, I think I'm going to go piping hot. And that is because they, just because they're paying him all that money. Now, if all that money wasn't guaranteed, I can absolutely see them moving on from Deshaun Watson this offseason. It also depends on how he plays the rest of the year. We'll see how he plays the rest of the year. He's got a long time, he's got a long ways to go. And, let's not forget how great and how really good he was before all that stuff happened. He didn't want to play, and some people would argue that, that all of it was false. And I'm not getting into that here, but I do think he will be the Browns starting quarterback next year in 2024. Man, it feels weird saying 2024. It feels like 2023 just got here, so it seems really weird. But I don't think Deshaun Watson will not be the starting quarterback next year. They're paying him too much money, and I think he's going to pick it up. I really think he's going to eventually figure it out. Remember, there's a big difference in football shape and being in shape. Huge difference. So I think Deshaun Watson will be fine. I think he will eventually get it going. And, if he doesn't by the end of this year, if he still looks the same at the beginning of next year, then yeah, I can see it. But with Deshaun Watson, that Browns offense has actually been much better, even though maybe the points don't show and such. But the offense has been much better. And don't forget, it takes a long time to learn an offense. It takes a long, long time. So we will see. But I think Deshaun Watson will. He was in the system last year, and this is his second year. So next year, there will be no excuses. So we'll see. I think he's going to be the quarterback next year. Beyond that, if he can't pick it up, then I don't think he will. But I'm going piping hot with this one. Broncos should beat the Bears twice. They already played them. They beat them once. Although we'll see how the Bears continue to play. They've been playing better than they started the season. Raiders, you should beat the Raiders. Bengals, that's a tough game. And you play the Lions two times within the last 3 weeks. Those two matchups are going to be huge against the Lions. Now, will they win all these games? I said that they probably will. Probably not. They're probably going to have a slip up here and there. Their defense isn't great, but they will be getting Jordan Addison back in a couple weeks. And if they do get Jordan Addison back, or not Jordan Addison, Justin Jefferson back, man, watch out. It's going to be impressive. It's going to be something. This Vikings team, there's always a team that kind of emerges out of the weeds in the middle of the season, as the season going on. It's like past the beginning of the season, we're really getting to the middle of the season. And I think the Vikings are going to be that football team. I think the Vikings are going to be that team that got hot on a big winning streak. They only lost to the Chiefs by 7. They won 3 out of the last 4. And they beat the Niners last game. So the Vikings have been very impressive. Now they did barely get by the Bears. But the Vikings, they did beat they did beat the 49ers next week. So, watch out. Kirk Cousins is playing great. And you don't have Justin Jefferson there right now. And, it's kind of weird how they were losing those games with Jay Jettas. But they were playing against tougher opponents. Although, they did just play San Fran without him and beat them. But for the Vikings to make the playoffs, I'm going to go warm. I'm going to go cold. I think it's possible. I think the chance is really there. But for them to win the NFC North, I'm going to go hot. I think it's very unlikely. I still think the Lions are the best team in the North, and I don't think the Vikings are better than the Lions. But the Lions and the Vikings both have very favorable schedules, so it can come down to that Vikings and the Lions game at the end of the year. I would not be shocked if that is flexed into a Sunday night football game. A game for the division. I could see it. I think it's going to be a phenomenal stretch for this NFC North division between the Vikings and the Lions. I don't see the Bears or the Packers getting in that conversation. So that's all I got for you guys today. Thank you for tuning in to the JDW Sports Talk Show. Thank you for tuning in for Hot Take Tuesday, episode 24 of season 2 is officially coming to a close. Very sad time. I love Hot Take Tuesday. I love getting you guys involved. And I felt like last week was a very bad week, but this week I feel like we're back on track. And I changed everything for a second time. Although I kept the same logo, fixed up a little bit. I changed a few things because I want to get the episode behind us. It was echoey. It was, you guys couldn't comment because I had it on Made for Kids by accident. So last week was a disaster, but hey, we learn from disasters and we get better, and there's nothing that can stop us. We are going to be a sports empire. We're going to be one of the best communities and football places out there for fans to come to. So, and I'm only getting better. I do have a long way to go. I'm still learning how to watch film. I'm still learning how to do things better. And I'm excited to have you guys on this path. So I appreciate you guys tuning in. Hope you guys did enjoy this episode. Make sure you like, subscribe, put the post notification bell on, So I'm saying future videos. Join that Discord so you can become a part of Hot Take Tuesday in the future, or just join an incredible community filled with awesome people, incredible people. I promise you, they're all great people. Cannot express my appreciation enough for them. So that's all I got for you guys. This is the JDW Sports Talk Show signing off. Dang, I hate signing off.